So when you text, do you text with like two fingers, or you text with one? I mean, how does this? Are your thumbs?
Oh, I am a one-finger texter.
One finger texter.
Oh, you cannot
How can
believe
you do this?
how much I can do. It's
Really?
unbelievable. Oh, yeah.
So you trained yourself
One finger?
One finger texting all
since
the time.
the 90s.
It's amazing. I'm so fast. You can't even believe how fast this is. It's miraculous.
I'm a two-thumber.
Two thumber. Okay, that's good. Which
you
I think
said
is
you know how to type. I don't. You know what I did? I peeked under the box. For any of you that are old enough, isn't he? Remember how we
in
would
the world?
type and there'd be a box that would cover?
No.
You didn't have that?
Oh yeah. Okay. In the class.
Elementary
That's cool.
school.
Okay. Yeah.
You had a box that covered the keyboard for your
Keyboarding.
big
Yes.
computer.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Why don't I remember the box?
You probably didn't have it at your fancy
Well, it's like a
private
train.
school.
It covered your hands.
Bradfield, we did.
Oh, man, throwing me under the bus.
Interlooper.
Interlooper.
Yeah. So it covers your hands, so you can't see like home row and all
But I
this. So,
peeked. I would peek.
but you would actually say,
Lift
yeah,
up
that's
that
great.
little cardboard box and peek. So I never learned to type.
Oh man.
What's easy in the short is hard in the long.
Yeah.
Nice. Nice. Really good. And so you.
Or you just turned out just fine.
Exactly. And I'm flying away on my one finger texting.
Do you use your first finger to
Yeah, my
text?
pointer.
Are you serious to text?
Yes. What is the problem with
I
that?
don't know. That's so foreign. And you use two thumbs.
Two thumbs.
Yeah, which I think is like ergonomically correct. You can like do your thing.
Do my thing real fast.
I think I'm a thumb.
Okay,
Thumbs.
let's do a
I'm a one
texting.
thumb.
A text
Race.
off.
More.
A
A
text
text
off.
off.
A
Yes,
text off.
please.
We'll see who wins. Let's go.
Yes.
I'm ready.
I've gotten more into the audio message thing, which is so easy. You just
I
you
mess
just,
it up
I
every
mess
time.
it up every
no,
time
no,
too.
you got to. It's practice makes perfect. You got to pause, think about it, ask the Lord to show you.
pause.
And I'm
Okay.
just kidding.
It cuts
No,
off.
throw off.
No.
Throw up the
You put it in there
help.
like burp, burp, burp. You do it, and then you send it, and it's wonderful. And people get your inflection. People get whether you're frustrated or not.
Oh,
or
I like that. A lot
Yeah.
can be misconstrued on a text.
lot can
for
be
sure.
misconstrued on the pink cheetahs.
It's true.
Text.
I gotta let that go. Well, I did. I'm off.
Yeah, that's
Love
right.
you.
And see you. So we're going to start a group text for the
Sarah,
Never for Nothing podcast with everybody. Anyway,
No matter what finger you
for
use.
Sarah to leave.
No, I wouldn't leave this.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You're so nice and so kind. Okay, our final
Unless you
episode.
start asking me about Instapot, then I'm leaving.
And I'm out.
We're full circle.
Full circle.
Full circle on the Instapod.
Wow.
It's amazing. So just awesome.
Although it was the air fryer, whatever that thing was.
Yeah, it's that.
Yes.
Same season.
Both.
Here we are on the final episode of this season. Can you believe it?
No.
Amazing.
Oh my gosh.
How
Can't
far
believe. Are
we've
you ready to
come.
start?
Ready.
Okay, I'm about to press play. We're going to start recording here in just a second. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1. Oh, that's so good. Guys, we are so glad that that you are here with us. We are here on the very final episode of Never for Nothing, the Susanna Baker podcast. This is awesome. I'm just getting straight in my chair because I'm so excited. I've got my hands on the table.
They're not
Ready to
supposed
go.
be there.
Can we made it? We made it. I know we're not supposed to touch the table. I get it. But on this one, I'm too excited
Rule follower.
because we're here. Because we're here. That was a terrible laugh on my part.
Your kids would be so embarrassed.
Man, I just,
With their
that-
Crocs of socks.
Yet another thing for them to be embarrassed about me. So we're here. Like, we've made it through all of these episodes. More importantly, you listener, you get a gold star
Yes.
for making
you made it.
this long through this amazing journey. We've talked about all kinds of tools. We've talked about the attachment styles. We've talked about various and sundry random things of life,
Yes.
which I think make it even better. Some person
better.
said, somebody was like, God, I like your podcast, but you guys talk too much. I'm like, that's the point. That's the point. You're supposed to get into some of the details to make it familiar. We're not robots.
Yeah.
Authenticity.
Sarah and I came with all these notes the first time. And Steven was like, no. Y'all just chill out.
Okay,
We're
no,
talking.
seriously, listener, like they came in with 3-ring binders.
Mine was a little more disheveled than Susanna's, I will say. Now, when I'm stressed, I try to make it perfect. But when I'm not, I can be disheveled.
So you're controlling that's
when I'm
amazing.
stressed.
So you have yours bound up, your notes and all that stuff,
Yeah.
and we kind of threw those out we've kind of gone a little bit along. We've talked about stuff that's in the book and also out of the book, which I think is a pretty cool.
It's fun to, use a book as a springboard and then really talk about other ways that.
And workbook.
Yeah,
Don't
and
forget about
workbook.
the workbook.
Yes.
People, do
Workbook's
not
my favorite part.
It is my favorite part too. The book is awesome, but the workbook is where some of the true healing, the deeper healing and connectedness with the Lord in your own life
Yes.
works out.
It's my favorite part to write, for sure.
You use this phrase a lot of time when you're talking about the book and the workbook, the relationship between the two. The book is your story, right? And then the workbook, help me with that.
Is their story.
Is their story,
It's
yeah.
listener's
Yes.
story.
I see.
The reader's story, yes. It's your opportunity to work out your earned secure attachment with the Lord, with your history. And it's the chance that you get to hear God ask you every day, where are you?
It's the best book you can read. It's the best parenting book, marriage book, self-help book.
Hold on a second.
That you can read.
Wow.
How about that?
No, it's true because I had a stack of books about for marriage beside my bed. Meanwhile, Corey did not. But-
Kobe?
It's Corey.
Okay, sorry.
So
Corey.
he did not. He's like, we're fine.
Wait, his
relax.
actual name is Corey?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh,
I've been
my
saying it wrong
goodness,
the whole
For
time.
heaven's sakes. So I would read, or then parenting books. I'd want to read all these parenting books. Well, the best thing you can do is work on your own story. That's the best gift that you can give to yourself, to your husband, to your children, to your friends, to your family, is to work through your own story.
Yeah.
I'll say it's just on the, and Susanna's ready to just go right into all of this, but I'll say as a dude, it might have flowers on the cover.
Yeah, don't let that.
But it might have flowers on the cover, but it's like these fists that are wrapped like a boxer, and you open the thing and it's like boom, boom, you're being punched in the face, And Susanna has, because she's a fighter, is able to do it gently but sternly, and the Lord is able to take then these words, even for guys, to really be able to reframe who you are, who He is, and who He wants you to be. So it's just an amazing adventure. So don't let the flowers fool you.
We need a
Yes.
a guy cover, a dude
Let's do
cover.
it.
That's
Let's
right.
do it.
We'll do the dude cover, and we'll have like diamond plate cover.
Yeah.
It'll be awesome. You know what diamond plate is?
No.
Yeah, okay.
Oh,
But the guys do. That's all that's important.
my goodness.
So
we're
in
like,
this episode,
what?
we're going to be talking about really what we should have, or, if we were able to go back, what we would have known at the beginning would have been so helpful in the journey.
Yes.
We made a Lord of the reference. We made a Lord of the Rings. Actually, I did.
Yeah,
Yes,
not
I
you.
did.
Nope.
Yes,
In a
made
very serious moment.
in a very serious moment, and I apologized profusely, but I just, we made a reference about that, but then, we talked about what they could have known. It just seems like to me if they would have just let the eagles take the hobbits
Oh, what?
to
What are they? You guys are speaking Spanish.
no let the eagles take the hobbits to Mount Doom, then all of this other stuff would have
been avoided.
been avoided.
But they would have not had the journey.
So you're saying the journey
Ooh.
is what
Yeah,
it's all about,
that's what it's
and the
all
book would have
about.
been about 2 pages.
Yeah. That too. Tolkien had a lot of
and
words.
Sarah might
You
have-
think you have a lot of words, Sarah. Tolkien.
She and Tolkien right there together. I think you would totally love. You not read Lord of the Rings yet, or
Nope.
oh
Nope.
man, you would.
And she doesn't listen to podcasts.
Yeah, exactly. Let's not bring that up again.
She's
My
just
first
on
question
podcasts.
ever on a
Yeah, that's-
podcast. Well, I don't know.
It's full circle.
Full
Okay,
circle again.
what woulda, coulda, shoulda, as they say. What could we have known? Let's talk about that a little bit as we conclude this season.
So if you are on wherever you are really on your journey of moving from insecure to secure attachment, things that I wish I had known. I mean, the first thing that came to mind was I just wish I had known to just get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Like it will not last,
Yes.
but it's just a necessary part of the journey. Talking about journeys, and it's just going to feel uncomfortable and hard for a long time. It doesn't mean like you're going to feel like that all day, but every day you're going to probably have to start with lament. for a season of your life, because you're bringing up all the buried hurt that is affecting you, whether you want to admit it is there or not, and bringing it up before the Lord and saying, okay, help me work through my story and change my lens. How do you see this, Lord? Let me see it through your lens of steadfast love and faithfulness. But it's hard. And there were many days, even writing the book, having to remember at a whole new level. I would be in the fetal position on the floor. I mean, it's just hard. But the end goal, it doesn't last forever. And there is so much joy and freedom and peace on the other side. Like, insecure attachment means you feel insecure. I felt so insecure, up and down, unstable. And it wasn't until I lamented and remembered and went through the restoration process and I felt the peace of being secure for the first time in my whole life. I wouldn't trade it for anything. Yeah. Nothing.
It's worth going in the valley and allowing yourself to remember rightly.
Yes.
And to go through those stages of grief. And for my personality, I just wanted to jump right to acceptance. So that, because I know God works all things together for good. So I just wanted to jump that. So that valley, I was trying to charter a plane out of the valley. Excuse me, sir, can you please get me out of here? Or I was in the mud and I'm like, well, really, it's not so bad. I mean, maybe this mud is kind of lovely.
It's good for my skin.
Yeah. And then I was like, no, it actually is messy and stinks.
Yeah.
And I had to stay there for a little bit.
Yeah.
And let myself even be angry at things.
Yes.
And for somebody that my upbringing, I don't know, or my nature is, I'm uncomfortable if I feel angry. But there's some things in this life that you need to be angry about. And that's okay. It doesn't mean you're going to stay angry. Then you can grow to acceptance. And that doesn't even mean, my Aunt Pam gave me a great piece of advice I didn't understand at the time, but she said acceptance doesn't mean approval. It means, but acceptance is the answer.
Yeah.
So accepting life on life's terms.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was so good. It doesn't mean approval, but acceptance is the answer.
Yeah.
And so, okay, Lord, I don't know how in the world you're going to work all this out, but I'm going to trust that you will, and that even this brokenness of my past that I wished might not have been there. But actually, I don't say that. I'm glad. I'm thankful for all the brokenness.
Why?
Because it pushed me to Jesus. And he is the best thing that ever happened to my life. And so I'm thankful that God weaved every single thing in my story for good.
Yeah.
He didn't waste anything.
Yeah.
Not one thing.
Yeah. When my sister-in-law, Kara, and I were talking one time, she reminds me often, she's like, you have to sit. I mean, Jesus was in the tomb for 3 days, and we just want to jump to the resurrection. Yeah. But the very word resurrection implies something died. You know, I mean, we just want to live with the resurrected Lord, but that means you've had to walk through death. And you wouldn't appreciate the resurrection or the power of the resurrection unless you first went through the death. So don't rush through the death part, because that means, remember, going back to the very first, resurrection is coming. It's coming. That's the narrative as a believer in Christ. Freedom's coming, but it's going to be hard for a bit.
Yeah. What if you're on the side of the table where you feel like you're the one that made the mistake?
Ooh. Oh, yes.
You're
good.
the one that created the death.
Yeah.
What happens?
That was a lot of my grief as well. Life didn't look the way I wanted it to or thought it would because of me, my mistakes, and mistakes I'd done relationally, and part of the fallout of my insecure, anxious attachment. It just stunk. And I'm like, in so many ways, I'm like, I wish I could have been insecure avoidant. Insecure avoidant people have it the best because they don't create conflict. They just get to disappear. But, you know, you don't get to choose certain parts of your story or personality. But I think the next piece of advice is don't panic when you make a mistake. Learn to sit at the table of grace. And I had about 6 months when I was walking through the real intense part of my journey of insecure to secure attachment. I was in Psalm 23 for about 6 months, and it was word by word and line by line. And I got to that line of, you prepare a table for me in the presence of my enemies. And I remember I had done something where I was in an awkward situation with a friend, and there was hurt on both sides, but I definitely had made a mistake. And I was so afraid of the Lord just once again, here you go again, did it wrong, mistake, you're out. You don't get to teach anymore. You don't get to serve, or you're out from the kingdom, or whatever it is.
You get voted off.
You get voted off the island. And I just remember that line, you prepare a table for me in the presence of my enemies. And I just felt like the Holy Spirit gently, he whispers to our hearts, what if the enemy is you? Did you still get the table of grace, even when you're your own enemy? The answer is yes. It can be enemy of others against you, sin other people commit against you, or sin that you commit yourself. But part of the believer is that we sit at a table of grace, and we have to learn to receive that meal, especially for the things that we've done ourselves.
And to trust the meal that's put in front of you.
Yes.
That God has given you.
Yeah.
And to not be peering back from the table, looking at the buffet and being like, God, I do not want this.
Yeah.
This isn't what I picked, but do you trust me?
Yeah. It's
Do you
not a
trust me?
mistake.
It's not a mistake.
It's not a mistake. Yeah.
What I caught myself doing was I was trying to frantically make sense out of some things in my life. And it was almost like, so basically, to give a little context, but there was a bunch of different things that came into my life of all this brokenness, whether it's extended family, my own, undealt with anxiousness, just all kinds of stuff. And it all kind of came at one time, which I was forced then to deal with my own brokenness. And so what I felt like I was doing was, it was almost like there was this shattered pot, and I was trying to put it back together, like frantically. And I had super glue all over my hands, and I was cutting myself with the edges, and I was just trying to make sense of it, of all this brokenness that was going on in my life. And it was like this, illustration for me. And then it was almost like God's like, let me have all the broken pieces, Sarah. Stop trying to frantically put them back together.
Yeah.
You don't know where they go. You don't know what this pot is going to look like, but just hand them to me. Lift all the little broken pieces, the pot of your own shattering, and hand them to me, and let me put them back together.
Yeah.
And it's going to look different.
Yeah.
And it's just, that for me was freeing. That
Yes.
It didn't have to be me piecing them together, putting them in the wrong spot, getting super glue. I mean,
Yes.
who wants super glue on their hands? Is
Yeah.
that just the worst?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It's true. It's just trusting that the host, he is a host that serves. The meal that we eat every time at the table is the broken body and the spilled out blood of Jesus Christ. It never goes away. And it's for your sin and for other people's sin. And to me, the big sign I knew, okay, I am in a place of
Here it is.
earned secure attachment
Okay.
is when not only could I eat the meal of grace for myself, I could start offering it to other people, even when they hurt me. I said, you have a place, come sit down. And I didn't have to chase. I didn't have to create conflict. I was secure in grace. I knew I'm a broken person, you're a broken person, we're all broken people. We're all at the same table. That's when you really know.
when you respond differently.
Yes.
For me, it was when Corey and I had an argument and it didn't unravel me. Mm-hmm. I didn't have to make it all right or chase after.
Yeah.
I had a settledness in my spirit.
Yeah.
And that was huge.
Yes.
Or I could be in an environment that felt, unsafe, and I felt a complete peace
Yeah.
inside.
Yes.
There was an inordinate amount of turbulence on a flight, and I wasn't unraveling. I felt completely calm. I mean, it's like when you become secure in the Lord, it's like you've taken a spiritual Xanax.
It's so
I mean, I've
true.
never taken one. Maybe I should. Maybe I, but I go, but it is.
It's really amazing when you are so used to up and down on the inside and the insecurity and the panic feelings, and then you go to security. It's truly amazing. It's a gift.
And you don't ever want to go back.
No.
And it's new levels of freedom, and there's just a peace in your home.
Yeah.
Not all the time. I mean, we're in a broken world.
Right.
But you are different.
Yeah. And that's what's on the other side of the discomfort, of the mistakes, that's what.
So don't give up.
Don't give up.
Don't just think, no, I'm not going to just remember. I'm just going to do what has worked in the past, and I'm just going to try to manage my circumstances.
Yeah. I would say the other thing I wish I had known, I'm kind of glad I didn't know, but don't be surprised if things fall apart. Especially when you think, oh yeah, I've got this.
No.
And they fall apart. Because
They
it's
will.
almost like God has to say, okay, I know you think you're secure, but you're not really secure till the rug is pulled out from underneath you. And then you're secure,
Yes.
And so, when the rug is pulled out, you're like, what? What's happening? And the Lord's like, this is part of it. This is part of it.
When you start going to those other places that you used to feel
Yes.
like, oh, here's my safe place. I'm
Yes.
going to go there. And God's like, nope, you're not going to be able to go there.
Nope.
He would put barriers.
Yes.
He did this in my life. And then he's like,
For
I
that,
am your
for their
safe.
sake, for your sake.
He's like, I
For
am
him.
your safe person.
Yeah.
You don't need a different set of circumstances.
Yes. Yep.
You need me.
So don't be surprised.
Don't be surprised.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
So what you're saying then is our circumstances are purposeful.
Yes.
And, again, title of the podcast, really the foundational part of what we've been talking about here is that our circumstances aren't ever meaningless. They are never for nothing.
Never. Yeah.
They're never just circumstances. They're always something that's perfecting us and leading us. I think you said it beautifully, Sarah, just a second ago, leading us, pushing us to Jesus.
Yes.
And I think it's just an amazing thing.
Yeah.
Any final words as we kind of conclude our season, but definitely this episode of the podcast?
Well, one thing is, as you're looking back and remembering, you do remember your relationship with your mom and your dad so much, and they are the exact parents that God intended for you.
Yes.
And there is real peace that comes when you accept that.
Mm-hmm.
And the other piece is when you are freaking out over how you've done it wrong as a mom or a dad because you didn't know all this and you wished you would have known it. You are the exact mom or dad that God intended for your children.
Yeah.
And there's great peace in that because none of us are going to get it right.
Yeah.
None of us are going to be the perfect mom or wife. And who wants that? They
Right.
don't exist.
Right.
And life is
When
messy.
they wouldn't need Jesus.
Exactly.
We were perfect.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's freedom in being able to say, you know what, I didn't get it wrong. I wished I would have known this. But God, you brought this to me at just the right time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you
true.
can welcome me back whenever we have a mistake episode. All the mistakes.
Episode? What are you talking about? That's like 3 seasons.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah, I've got some material for that.
I got material.
I've got material.
I got it right here. In
Mistakes
fact.
in parenting.
That's right. So let me go back to one of the things that you just said, just so that we're all clear. Even though there are situations of abuse, even though there are situations of whether it's verbal or whether it's physical abuse, all of those things, God can still work in those, right?
Oh, yes. In anything. I mean, I'm thankful. I didn't have an abusive father or mother. I had loving parents. But there was a lot of brokenness, too, in my nuclear family. And God's in it.
Yeah.
He's in the brokenness.
He uses it.
He uses it.
Somehow to draw us to himself. And he's never pleased or glad about the hurt or the brokenness, or he never causes it. But he somehow uses all the brokenness to draw us to himself. And then he makes it better than even if the brokenness had never happened. I mean, it's crazy. But
even our own mistakes.
He makes it better.
That's the sweetest thing, is when we think, oh, how I totally messed this up. When we hand it to God, he says, I can bring good out of this, out of your own mess, out of your own mistakes, out of your own regrets. Let me, trust me to bring good out of this, that you think there's no way there can be good out of this. Let me show you.
And redeem it.
Yes.
For his glory.
Yeah.
For his name.
For sure.
It's amazing.
For him.
Suzanne, any last words?
And let me add one thing to that. I think
Sure.
of 3 women specifically who I know well and who had incredibly sexually abusive situations with their father or adopted father, biological father, things that are horrific and that God does not love, hates. He hates. But they are some of the most God-fearing. You see them and they ooze Jesus. And while I don't know, while they would say, oh, I'm thankful for that, they wouldn't say that I'm thankful that happened, but God has used it all to make them love Jesus and know him in a way that I probably will never know. The deeper the brokenness, it's almost like the deeper the space he carves out to know him.
Yes.
That's what's so beautiful. And so no matter what you've walked through, the capacity, the greater the hurt, it's almost the greater the capacity to be healed and known and loved by him and for your life to be redeemed. And I can see it in the lives of these. I can think of 3 specific women that I know that I am just so thankful for. They are living pictures to me daily of the power and the transforming love of Jesus Christ.
And you don't have to have some
Crazy backstory.
background
No.
to be insecurely attached.
Right.
You don't. It's just it's part of growing up in a broken world, broken family. I mean, every family under the sun is.
Right. I think for me, the last words would be, and things I wish I had known was, I think back to this past February, my dad turned 80, and his lifelong dream has been to see the Grand Canyon. And so it took about 2 years of planning, how am I going to get my 80-year-old dad to the bottom of the Grand Canyon? Because he has plantitis on the bottom. He can't walk down to the Grand Canyon. And I wanted him to actually see the walls, not just raft through, but see it. So they have mule rides in the Grand Canyon where you start at the top of the Bright Angel Trail. And
This is like South Rim, yeah.
Yeah, on the South Rim.
Yep.
And you descend about 2,000 feet and go down into the canyon. And you spend the night at Phantom Ranch and then come back up the next day. And his birthday's in February 15th. So we were there in February. And was snow and ice on the trail. And it's my mom and my dad, my brother Taylor and his wife Robin, and then my brother Nathaniel and his wife Anna were the sane ones and decided to hike it. But the rest of us are in the back of mules. Jason had to stay back for a basketball tournament. And so, it was so sweet because it sort of is at the tail end of this journey that I've made towards earned secure attachment. And here is my nuclear family going down into the Grand Canyon on the back of mules together. And let me tell you something. We go. And the first words, you have this training session with the Wranglers, and their first words are, "No one has ever died doing this."
Thanks for
that. And you're like, thank you. But you feel like you are going to die because those mules, you're on the back of a mule. There is a 2,000 vertical foot drop.
Yes.
With no rail. And the path is like, I don't know, it feels like a foot wide. It's probably like 5 feet wide.
Deadly.
But there's ice and snow.
Yeah. Right.
And you're thinking, and there's switchbacks all the way down. And my sister-in-law, Robin, all I could think of was, we're gone. Like, we're goners. And you're clutching the horn of the saddle.
You're also thinking, we planned to do this.
We paid to do this. And I'm looking at Robin, who I know is freaking out. She is looking straight up at the sky. She cannot even look down or out. And I start singing Kumbaya, I think, with my eyes closed. Of all things. It was the only thing I could think of. I was like trying to think of like Maverick City, Dante But no.
Yeah.
Kumbaya, my Lord.
When crisis has you in its clutches.
He's got the whole world in his hands. That's what I'd be singing.
Crisis. Kumbaya. But the thing is, there was no capacity to enjoy the journey those first few hours because we were not the ones in control. You had to completely trust your life to a mule.
Yes.
To a mule. But what's crazy is it's the safest way to get down to the bottom of the canyon. No one's ever died. Hikers die. There's a book all the time. Rafters, not the people who ride on the mules, back of mules.
Really?
It just doesn't feel safe because you're not the one in control. But by the time we got to the bottom and coming back the next day, we could totally relax and enjoy it and just take in the beauty of the ride in the canyon. And that really is what the journey of earned secure attachment is like. It's terrifying at first. It is terrifying to say the things that have brought me safety and security up to this point in my life, these systems I've created out of my sin, out of my flesh, out of my wounds, but that aren't working, I'm going to give up and I'm going to put myself into the hands of God. And I'm going to trust that my security lies in him. It doesn't feel good. But if you will sing Kumbaya and close your eyes. And I loved it too. Or
something else.
Yeah, say something else.
Get your song ready.
And for the avoidant person, I love it because they said the unsafe way to do this is to do this by yourself. You have to keep your mule nose to tail with the mule in front of you. Yeah. You have to stay together. And so you are very much alone on your mule, but you're very much going down together. And it's just a beautiful picture of what happens when we go on this ride of earned secure attachment. And I was doing this with my family. It was so beautiful. And with my 80-year-old dad. And yes, things have not been perfect. Yes, there's been brokenness. But can I tell you the beauty of the ride? That God truly has used it for good. And there is such peace and there is such joy. And relationships with them have never been sweeter or stronger. Because of the journey of remembering, restoring, rebuilding, but trusting the Lord, learning to put my security in him. So it is scary, but I can say it is an amazing ride. And when you're done, when you've worked towards earned secure attachment, sign up for a mule ride to the bottom of the canyon. It's a great way to celebrate and be scared all at the same time. So that's what I would say.
It's worth it.
It's worth it. It's never for nothing.
Freedom is coming.
Yes, it is. And we need a generation of people. You know, there is so much, the world is not getting safer or better or more healed. It's getting darker. Everyone is doing what is right in their own eyes. And we need a generation to step up and say, we are going to let a good God put the broken pieces back together, and we're going to trust him.
And we're going to obey him.
And we're going to obey him.
One foot is trust, and the other is obey. Yes. And it never changes.
And it starts with your own heart, and then your little family. And it transforms an entire people group or school or area. It's incredible when you just do the work God has for you to do and trust them. He's going to do the rest.
Incredible. High fives.
High fives.
All around. High fives all around.
Awesome.
Listener, high five. We thank you so much for being a part of this and walking this trail with us over the last these episodes. And it's just so great. We look forward to what's to come. If you want to dive deeper, there are a ton of resources and tools on Susanna's website. Not only the Restore book, which is her latest, but there are also some incredible tools on lament, even, are those also on time alone with the Lord and Bible study that you're going to want to hop into. So once again, we thank you for being a part of Never for Nothing. This has been an amazing adventure, and we look forward to next time. We'll see you.